Hello everyone. I'm going to do a little bit of a food forest tour here today in the beginning of March 2024, as a lot of things are just starting to wake up from the winter time. Just going to go through and briefly talk about each tree, roughly how long it's been in the ground, and where it's from for all the ones that I can remember at least. So this is the front yard of our property. We do not have an HOA, so we kind of do whatever we want. As you can see, there's a lot of mulch on the ground, and I don't know if it will come across on the camera, but if you can see kind of the berms or the islands in all the planted sections is because we do have flood irrigation, and the water will fill in all of those areas. So right here in the front we have a red Baron peach. Dave Wilson is just starting to wake up. We kind of have our veggie island here next to the Shangri-La mulberry. You can see the mulberries are starting to come on. Fuzzy little guys. And this is kind of a forest of curly-leafed kale and some other stuff under there. Here's another red Baron peach. This is from RSI. I'm a big fan of RSI because they use a rootstock that is much more quicker growing for our clay soils. They grow much faster, and I can tell you that for a fact because I have quite a few of both. This is a Reed's Big Red Peach, exclusive, I would imagine, to RSI. A lot of these I just planted really in the beginning of December 2023. These couple stone fruits up here because the stone fruits that I planted last year all died because of our sweltering summer heat. See, we kind of got some different herbs and stuff down in there scattered in, some cilantro, dill, some basil, and some other things just starting to pop up. This is a brown turkey fig with some spearmint underneath. I like to mix in a lot of flowers and herbs kind of throughout the garden because they all benefit each other in certain ways. The fig's still dormant, but just starting to come back. I'm going to pause for a moment because of that truck. Hopefully our audio is okay. I don't have a mic and it is a little bit breezy. But if there's something you couldn't hear clearly and you have a question, please leave it down below and I'll do my best to answer you. And just a couple of herb pots. Some rosemary, oregano, cilantro. Got a few different kinds of artichokes. And this will be their third season to come back every year. A lot of bees on it right now. Cotton candy apium, planted in December, RSI, just starting to wake up. Probably won't put on any flowers this year, but we'll see. Obviously it's too small, I wouldn't let it bear fruit anyways. We've got our veggie bed up in the front, right on the street. Just different lettuces and some carrots and some cabbages in the corner, and I'll be planting the summer veggies in there pretty soon. Flavor Delight apium. This thing produced heavily last year and I did trim it down quite a bit, but as you can see, beautiful flowers coming on now. This is the gold-kissed apricot, I believe. Dave Wilson rootstock. The cotton candy is Dave Wilson as well. If I could have gotten all RSI trees, I think I probably would have. They just produce a lot faster and they grow a lot faster. Or artichokes. This is our hot pepper trio. We like to make a lot of hot sauce, so we have habanero, ghost, and reaper. They really did really well over the winter. I did drape some blankets over that on all of the freezing nights, but other than that, they're doing pretty well. And peppers will actually last multiple years in the ground as long as you don't let them freeze all the way down. And there's the reason that they call this the king of fruit trees. This is the Pakistan mulberry. And I don't know if this will come across on the camera, but it is absolutely loaded. Last year we had buckets and buckets of fruit, and I pruned it heavily back over the winter so all the fruit would kind of be easier to reach. So as you can see, it's not very tall anymore, but by the end of this summer it'll be as tall as that eucalyptus tree again, easily. Wildflowers, the daisies come back every year, and there's a lot of weeds, of course, because we had all those winter rains, but there's some other flowers mixed in there that'll be budding out soon. Love to have the flowers, and brings the bees and other pollinators in. Some sunflowers coming back from letting some flowers go to seed last year. Tomato, cherry type. This is early grande peach. I pruned it down to produce some strong lateral branches very early in its life because of kind of a heavy peach. And this is just from letting some carrots and lettuce go to seed last year. There used to be a raised garden bed here, and those came back. Kumquat. I forget the name of it. Is it Fujima or something along those lines? One of the most common types. Got some fruit almost ready. This is the must-have for stone fruits for any home gardener, orchard. Of course, the Florida Prince peach, the first one to wake up, the lowest chill hour requirements, but putting on some little baby peaches there. That's a Dave Wilson tree. Produced pretty heavily last year, even though it's rather small still. And of course another artichoke. And then up against the house, maybe kind of hard to see, but there's a boysenberry vine, thornless, kind of down there that I'm kind of encouraging to root and take over this area of the wall. This is a Barbados cherry, just waking up again. A Barbados is also one of the must-haves, I think. They're super easy to grow. We'll take the full sun, no problem. We'll take the cold, no problem. And this is probably a 2.5-year-old tree. And I've, as you can see, trained it to sprawl out because I want it to cover our bedroom window there as well. But I've pruned this thing probably at least half a dozen times, and they're, for a subtropical, a very vigorous tree. I got this one from Jay at AZ Fruit Trees, probably the first subtropical, one of the first that we got, other than the guavas in the back. Oh, there's a little dwarf Cavendish banana down here. Survived the winter after transplanting in November. Moved all the bananas around to different spots from our original spot, which just was in too much sun, and therefore also was affected more by the cold because it was in more of an open spot. So we're trying a bunch of different spots for bananas to see what works best. That's ice cream, blue java, some nasturtiums that came back from self-seeded from last year. Love nasturtiums. Beautiful flowers, tasty flowers. Kind of a good filler and biomass producer. This is a dwarf green banana that I plugged in just about 2 or 3 weeks ago from digging up a pup. And that's it for the front, except from the other side, and we'll come out that side after we tour the back. Here's the side yard. This is the north side of the house. We've got the purple passion fruit vine that I just built, kind of a makeshift trellis with things that we happen to have on hand. If I could do it again, I probably wouldn't have used that mesh material, because if it flowers on top of the mesh, then the fruit will be stuck up there, but we'll figure it out. Died back a bit in the summer, but I'd say within a couple months it'll be totally filling the space. Monstera plant that we had in a pot for a long time that I wanted to find a nice shady spot to plug it in. So we'll see how that goes. This is the ice cream bean. It's just waking up from winter dormancy, putting on some beautiful new foliage. Great nitrogen fixing, beautiful plant. Supposedly the pod flesh is very delicious, so hopefully we get those sooner than later. But we'll be propagating those and probably putting them in a couple different spots around the property. Contoured jujube I got from Ken at Jungle Nursery in Mesa. Super cool place. A lot of Asian plants, both for culinary uses, and he sells fruit trees as well out of his backyard. And this is the Lang jujube, which is a pollinator for the contoured, and I just noticed that this guy's starting to wake up. I don't know if that's going to come across or not. Methley plum, RSI, planted in December, just waking up. Doesn't look like it's going to flower this year. Well, that's okay. Grapevine that I moved from its original spot, and hopefully fill in this trellis quite nice. That is the red flame grape, just waking up. This is the Waddell pear from RSI. Second spring in ground. Planted pretty much everything else on this wall was planted October 22. But you can see it's starting to bud out quite nicely. So we're happy about that. I'll probably thin out the fruit from whatever does happen to set, because it's still kind of a skinny tree. It's supposed to be a larger pear, but beautiful trees. Pears are an easy tree to grow here. Definitely highly recommended. This is a Dave Wilson tree. Sorry about the bus. Got the school right back there. This is a dual grafted apple with the Golden Dorset here and the Anna apple here. They're good cross pollinators and heavy producers. You can see that the tree is probably just about 6 feet tall, and last year it probably got smaller than that and probably got 100 apples off of it between the two varieties. Apples also super easy to grow. There's a few types that will do well here. This one I got from Jay at AZ Fruit Trees. This is called Tennessee pear, which is a hybrid pear, and he just happened to have it in stock at the time where I wanted to get our first pear tree, and I thought it was interesting, so that's what we got. But I believe it's a hybrid between an Asian and a European style pear, so it's supposed to have a pretty unique fruit that is very hardy. This is either Arctic Star or Sun Red Nectarine, and that's the other nectarine. This one did flower about a week or two sooner and is already starting to set some fruits. I did a little bit of hand pollinating between these two trees with one of my daughter's paintbrushes just to see if it could increase our fruit set. So maybe I'll report on that as the fruits start to develop. But you can see how much thicker these trunks are than some of those Dave Wilson trees, and much less time in ground than some of my Dave Wilsons that are still pretty scrawny. Here's the other flame grape and just starting to bud out that I had moved previously from a different spot. And this nectarine tree, whichever one it is between the two, just put out a crazy amount of flowers. So hoping to get some quality fruits here. You can see some pollinators hanging out, like a sweat bee or something. This is a Santa Rosa plum, I believe. It's either Santa Rosa or Beauty. One of them died last year, and I neglected to label them, but most people seem to think it's Santa Rosa. And I pruned this heavily in December, and just to try and make the branches stronger, but starting to flower now. Looking forward to those. We love stone fruit here, so we planted a lot of stone fruit just because they're relatively easy to grow and they produce rather quickly in their life. This is another boysenberry. This is a thorn type, unfortunately, even though it was labeled as thornless. And I have some piece of a tarp here to try to inhibit the grass from taking it over like it did last year. And looks like it's failing already, but probably bring this up on some type of trellis sometime soon. But lovely fruit, boysenberry. This is the hybrid nectaplum. The name is escaping me right now. I'll try to add it in the text. But it's supposed to be one of the most delicious stone fruits in the world. Beautiful young red foliage in the spring, and it's putting on a couple flowers. This guy's also planted in December. Probably won't let it hold any fruit this year. But I thought this was interesting that this branch is green foliage and the rest is red, but it still seems to be above the graft, but we'll let it play out and see what happens. This is a Natal plum. Pretty common landscaping plant. Actually does produce awesome tasting fruit, in my opinion. Under the right conditions, it will flower and fruit. This is our second Barbados cherry. It did totally defoliate this winter. I think I pruned it a little bit late, and I'm hoping I didn't kill it. But I've done some scratch tests and it's still green underneath. But it was super, super bushy, and I trimmed it in like November, I think. Barbados is a rather crazy, vigorous, drooping bush. So if you want them to have a certain shape, you do have to put some time into shaping it. But an easy plant to grow nonetheless, and very nutritious. Gonna see down that way, circle back through here. We have the two Indian type guavas, one white and pink. I'm a fan of the fruit, but I would say it's an acquired taste. I wouldn't want to eat it every day, but these trees are very easy to grow here. And I pruned them back heavily, but last year they produced abundantly. That's another tree I would recommend. There's tons of different types of guavas, some much better tasting than others, but they'll produce quickly in their planted life. This is the Violet de Bordeaux fig. None of the figs have held quality fruit yet, so sometimes I've read that it can just take a few years before them to get fully rooted to where they can ripen quality fruit on the tree. This is the Jamaican cherry. Another one I highly recommend. Super vigorous, very productive. It does get knocked down in the wintertime, so it'll kind of die back, and then by the end of the summer this year it'll be fully regrown and leafed out. But a great tree to create a microclimate with. Vigorous grower, produces a lot of shade. This is the tiger fig, tiger panache. I found it interesting, just like the fruit, the branches when they're younger. I don't know if it looks like it's not focusing too well, but they have kind of the yellow-green striping even on the branches. This is the Suriname cherry. Got a couple of these. Oh my goodness, I just noticed that it's flowering. Amazing. Been waiting for this. You guys, look at that. Excellent. I do like the Suriname cherry taste-wise. It's very unique. It's got sort of a curry kind of resinous taste to it. But I've read and heard multiple times that if you let the fruit really ripen to the point to where they either fall off the bush or easily can be picked, then less of that flavor remains and they will become much sweeter. But that is great. I'm actually seeing flowers all over the place. So that'll be cool to have some Suriname cherries this spring for the first time. Here's the other Suriname. I got these both at Green Life. Don't see any flowers yet on this guy. Both plants were in the same size pot when I got them. That one just happened to be a lot taller. It looks like there might be a couple flower buds coming up, which is cool. Ice cream banana. Dwarf Cavendish banana. There's another banana in here that I don't think made it, that I planted from a pup that was probably too cold when I did that. But this is what happens in the winter time, y'all. A lot of times the banana will die all the way back, and then pups will come up late January, February. This is the white sapote Subel. It was a lot larger than this, but a couple of times, unfortunately, one time actually the dog did as well, broke off the main leader branch. So it's kind of got this funky shape now because the main branch used to come up just here, but putting on new growth already. White sapote, very easy to grow here. Give it some organic matter, some compost, some stuff to bring in the worms, and a good amount of water, and they'll do just fine. Over here we've got our two starfruit trees. This is the Carrie starfruit and the Bell. The Bell was quite a bit larger than the Carrie, but last summer I put my shade structure up too late, and it died back by about 50%. And none of the flowers held, unfortunately. This is the Bradenton Loquat that I got from Alan at Queen Creek Tropicals. Second year flowering and fruiting. And I can see some little baby fruits starting to develop there. Love loquats. Obviously, if you've never had them, maybe not so obviously, but a delicious fruit, very tropical tasting, and just a beautiful tree. Very unique and ornate and tropical looking. This bed gets heavily mulched, but I'll usually bring the hose in that I pump from over there with the flit irrigation and still give it the river water, and these trees like that very much. And they look kind of crappy after winter time. They get beat up a bit by the cold and the super hot, but they're against the house facing east, so they get afternoon sun and kind of protection from this big ash tree. And the new growth is coming on, and it hold a couple fruit this year. You can kind of see they disguise themselves very well, but there's probably a dozen fruit in here, so next year is probably going to be the year where that root system is big enough to really produce. But starfruits will do well here in the right location. Got a couple Patengatuba star cherries here. They got hit pretty hard last summer, but this one's coming back well. Pepper plant that I actually moved from another location to try and provide shade to this other Patengatuba that I moved from a more shady location over there. And I think the move might have killed the tree, unfortunately. But we'll give it another month or so to see if it leaves out. These navel oranges were here when we moved to the property 3 years ago. Got a fantastic harvest this winter, and they're budding and about to flower any day now, so it smells really awesome. And back here, got some sugar cane up against the wall. Third year for the sugar cane, does very well. Pretty easy to grow. Kind of a fun plant. Here's another ice cream banana. I can't remember the name of this loquat. I'll try and throw it in the text. I got this one from Alan at Queen Creek Tropicals. And it didn't flower this year. I think I might have pruned it right before they were supposed to bud, and it maybe shocked the tree. Sorry about the buses. But just gonna let it grow this year, and hopefully next year it'll have a nice structure to support those fruits and flowers. Another ice cream banana. So you can see that in the summertime the sun kind of goes right over the sky here, and this is lots of dappled light pretty much all day long. I got a pair of the Brazilian cherry. I think the name is Pitomba. We got from Green Life. These flowered and fruited last year. A couple fruits on each. Died back a bit in the summer and took the winter very well. No cover, no heat source, and they're super happy. Very slow grower. We like Eugenias a lot. They're small kind of bushes that do well in small yards. This is the Navajo blackberry. Coming back strong, fruited last year. This is my pathetic looking mango tree. Alfonso is the cultivar, and haven't had a whole lot of luck with this guy. It does get covered in the winter and sun protected in the summer. And mangoes can be tricky from my experience. I might try giving it some sulfur and try to bring that pH down a little bit. But it gets pretty much exclusively river water. That guy is a purple cultivar of sugarcane. Purchased on Amazon, actually. This is our big mound back here that was mostly just excess mulch and compost that was tilled up when I brought the tiller through to create our new swale and berm systems for our flood, and then just started planting in it to see what would happen. Obviously you guys can tell we've got a crap ton of Bermuda grass back here, which is a total pain in the ass, but you know, we work with it. But we've got two dwarf bonanza peaches here that used to be in the front right up against the house and did not get sun until more towards the afternoon, and from what I could tell it's just not enough sun for these guys to thrive. So I dug them up and put them back here on this big mound, and I believe stone fruits are all taproot, so as long as it's getting water they should be doing well. But I moved them literally in the middle of winter, and they're already growing back quite nicely and flowering out. A couple mulberry cuttings I just plugged in here to see if they would root. Have no attachment to whether that happens or not, but if they do and you guys want a free mulberry tree, you're welcome to try and set that up. As you can see in this back wall, we've got two sapodillas, chiku sapotes, planted very close together. The intention is to have kind of a sapodilla hedge, but this is the ox and this is the morena. Just happened to be really kind of what he had in stock at Queen Creek at the time. Did keep them warm over the winter. Put some cardboard down to try to suppress the grass. But they did both flower last year. Just didn't set any fruit. And then in the back corner we've got the Vernon white sapote, which is a pretty vigorous tree. Takes the cold super well, takes the full summer sun very well, and it's just overall super happy. Beautiful new foliage. This is the Roseboro, I believe it's called, blackberry. Got some gnarly thorns. I mean, it just got overtaken by Bermuda grass last year, so I'm trying to bring it up off the ground so when it flowers we can easily get to the fruits without being stabbed to death. But super vigorous vine. And then we used to grow our veggies under here, and the grapes would grow up over the top, but growing less veggie these days and turn it into more of a standard style vineyard. So pulled some line across, and we've got two plants on each post to grow 2 or 1 leader across each wire, and makes the fruit easier to harvest and overall easier to manage the vines in general. Grapes can be rather unruly. They are susceptible to pests and diseases, so having them more organized makes all that stuff easier. But we've got the crimson grape, Thompson seedless, and black manuka on that side. And then we were struggling with what to do, if anything, with the space in between. So I decided to try and grow some tomatoes upwards on this, like the string trellis method style. Planted those a couple weeks ago, and most of them are doing pretty good so far. And then just got some rose bushes here, jasmine. I used to have a yerba mate plant there, but it got killed last summer. And we've got one more little garden bed up here in the front, and then we'll wrap it up. We got this big ash tree here that gives this a lot of protection. But I put this garden bed right up against the carport driveway just to utilize some otherwise unusable space. And we've got the tropic snow peach here. This is a Dave Wilson tree. Got a little bit of chlorosis maybe, but might be setting a couple fruit. And there's a bunch of seeds that we just put in for different things, cucumbers, melons. This, the sugar peas do exceptionally well here. Get at least a few handfuls of these guys every day. And then some carrots and herbs and things like that. But that's it, guys. Not a whole lot of hand watering until the hottest parts of the summer, because the flood does such a good job of impregnating the soil and soaking deep in, and the mulch serves as a sponge. But mulch has been really one of the main factors, if not the main thing, other than the flood, to get this garden thriving. And there's worms everywhere and bugs everywhere, and they eat the mulch and the plants eat their poop, and it's really that simple. But that's it, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them and be as much benefit as I can to those of you who might just be starting your journey. But every tree that we've chosen here, for the most part, can be planted in most yards. Some take some more care than others, but a lot of them are pretty low maintenance, and they need a little bit of compost, a little mulch. Make sure you're watering properly. But we learned everything pretty much just off of YouTube videos and some trial and error. So if we can do it, you can do it. Good luck.